Hello, my name's Taryn and I'm from the Wellington County Museum and Archives. Welcome to this week's Museum on Your Doorstep craft. Today we'll be making seed bombs, so grab your museum bag and let's get started. Seed bombs are something you can make at home and plant in your garden. They consist of newspaper, construction paper, and seeds. There's three very important things to remember with seed bombs. One is that you should only plant them in places you're allowed to plant them. Two, you should only use native seeds in your seed bombs, because if you use foreign seeds from different countries or something like that, they'll struggle to survive in this environment. And three, you should remember where you plant your seed bombs, because you will have to take care of it after. You'll have to water it. In your museum bag, you'll find a bag of wildflower seeds, 2 pieces of construction paper, and a sheet of newspaper. From home, you will have to supply a strainer of some kinds, a mason jar if you have one, or some other sort of glass airtight container, a spoon, and 3 bowls. These are the bowls that I have. The first step is to take one of your bowls and take your construction paper and shred up all of your construction paper into small pieces into the bowl. So, sort of like that. Nice small pieces. And you're going to do that with all of your construction paper. I have my construction paper layered together so I can get it done faster. But you can do them individually if you want. There we go, all of my construction paper is shredded up. And if I see any big pieces that I think should be smaller, because the smaller the pieces, the easier it'll be to make your seed bombs, I would take my scissors and cut them up. So if I see a piece that just looks a little bit too big, I'll take the scissors to them and make them smaller. I also will take clumps of the construction paper and just cut them in half, but I'm being careful of my fingers. It doesn't have to be beautiful, because after this we're going to get them wet and then they'll turn all soggy anyways. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my sheet of newspaper. I'm going to rip it up into small pieces just like my construction paper. There we go, and if I see any big pieces, I'll do the same thing I did last time, and I'll take my scissors to them and make them just a little bit smaller. And there we go. So for this next part, you might want adult supervision because we're going to be working with some hot water. What you need is your mason jar and a cup or a jar of anything of really hot water. We're going to need very, very warm water for this next part to work. So we're going to put all of our newspaper and our construction paper into our mason jar like this. Stuff it all in there. Like that. There we go. And then we're going to take our hot water and we're going to pour it into our mason jar so that all of the paper is covered with water. So for this part, you should be very careful. Make sure all the paper is under the water. There we go. And now I'm going to let this sit for 15 minutes. So 15 minutes has ended. I am now going to put the lid on my mason jar. Make sure it's nice and tight. And I'm going to shake it for 5 minutes. So I want to make sure my lid is tight on there so that none of the water gets out. And I'm going to shake it like this for 5 minutes. And hopefully the construction paper and the newspaper and the water will combine to form something that looks like snot. And there we go. It's been 5 minutes and my jar of newspaper, construction paper, and hot water does look like snot. The next step is to strain the water out of our concoction. So I have my strainer, I have a bowl here to catch the water, and I have a spoon to help me. I'm going to take the lid off my jar. And I'm going to hold my strainer above my bowl. And then I'm going to pour this through it. Just like that. Now we have to squish down on the construction paper and newspaper to get all the water out of our seed ball. We're going to keep doing this until we have something that looks a little bit like clay or Play-Doh. So I've squeezed all of the water out of my construction paper and newspaper, so I'll put this aside. I'm going to scrape all of my mush out into this bowl. Like this. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Ooh, there we go. And that's what that looks like so far. Now we're going to grab our bag with our wildflower seeds in them. We're going to open it up and we're going to put it in this bowl. You can just dump it in there like that. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little clump of this stuff and I'm going to dab it into the wildflower seeds like this. So the seeds will have no trouble sticking because this stuff is still pretty wet. So I have about that much on there. Then I'm going to take another clump of this and I'm going to stick it on there like that. Kind of sandwich the seeds into the ball. And I'm going to squish it all together like this. But I'm going to make sure not to try and roll the ball because if I do, it'll come apart. I'm going to get this bowl with the water in it because I still have a little bit of water in this ball right here, so I'm going to squeeze like this, squeeze all of the paper and the seeds together and make sure all the water gets wrung out of the ball like this. So I put down some wax paper for me to put the seed balls on to dry because I don't want the balls to stick to anything. I don't want them to stick to the table or anything like that, and they won't stick to the wax paper. So I'm going to put mine there, and I'm going to move on to make my next one. Grab a clump of this, dab it in the wildflower seeds, brush a little bit off, take another clump of this, sandwich it, and squeeze. And if I need to, I can add a little bit more onto the ball. And there we have it. I was able to make 4 of the seed bombs. Now I have to let these dry for 2 days. That's how long it takes for all the water inside them to dry up. After 2 days have passed, then you can go outside and plant them. And make sure when you plant them that you give them some water as well. Thank you for joining us this week for another Museum on Your Doorstep craft. We hope you enjoyed making seed bombs with us today. And for more activities and events, check out our website at www.wellington.ca/museum.